Hi friends, I am just prepping to make some stuffed shells. I had some leftover ground turkey that was frozen, so I just took that out of the Ziploc bag and I'm putting the water on to start boiling. You saw the ingredients that I'll be using earlier in the video, so watch me cook. I'm gonna add some salt and pepper to the water before it starts boiling, just a little bit. A little bit of olive oil. Make sure that the pasta doesn't stick together. Just wait for that to start boiling. I am slowly cooking the ground turkey. I'm gonna break this up some. Like I said, this was some leftover. I had a really big pack from the wholesale store. I used half of it last week, I think, for some tacos, and then saved the other half, and I decided to do some stuffed shells. Super yummy meal. Whole family likes it. That's always a plus, especially for those of us who have picky eaters. So I really like this one. I'm probably going to just do a side of some broccoli, maybe some garlic bread. I don't know yet. But right now, just getting this together. All right, the meat is starting to cook up, so just breaking it up some, turn it all around so it can cook evenly. It may look a little, have like extra water because it was frozen previously, so that's normal. All of that will either cook off or I will get that out when I get the excess oil out at the end. Trust the process. That's what cooking to me always is you start out with a whole bunch of ingredients and hope. You gotta trust that process to get to the end. So this is the pan I'm going to use to bake the pasta in for the whole dish. And what I like to do is, before I even put the shells in the water, I will set them in whichever pan I'm using to make sure that I'm using the right amount. I had to learn this from making this dish, because you don't want to waste your shells because you had too many or not have enough. So I'm like these broken ones I just take out. So I put them in, make sure that it's gonna be nice and full. So what you're gonna do once these are cooked is stuff them. That's why it's stuffed shells. You can stuff them with the meat and cheese and tomato paste that you're going to put within the meat. So just depending on how big your dish is or how much you're trying to cook will depend on how many of these that you use. Usually this box I'll use 2 times. And I might have to add a couple the second time around, but it's a pretty big box. It's Walmart brand, cheap, and gets the job done, so we love that. So this is a good amount, because of course they're gonna expand some, but they're soft, so they'll move and you'll stuff them, and then you'll be able to put pockets or put meat in the pockets on the sides if you have extra space. So take this out of the way. So the meat is cooked up all nice. I've been breaking it up as it's cooking. And I'm just gonna turn off the ad and get this extra water, oil out. What I do, a trick I learned from the Instagram a while back, because I used to let a paper plate down with paper towels and try not to burn myself and pour it off or use a strainer. So what I do now, I still use the paper towels, but I just take paper towels and tilt it so all the oil comes to the side. And then I use the paper towel to absorb that oil and water and whatnot, so that's not in your dish when you make it. And then I just use a plastic grocery bag to put that in. To me, it was a very simple way to get rid of that excess oil. And you just fold up the paper towel so you're not burning your fingertips, because of course this is still hot from cooking. So while I'm doing this, I'm still waiting for the water to start boiling to add in my pasta, and I'm just gonna throw away the baggie with those paper towels. So from here, the eye is still hot. You can turn it on low if you want, but I think it's hot enough that I can leave it the way that it is. So with the meat that's been cooked, this is when you want to add your seasonings and the tomato sauce. So for my seasonings, my holy grail of seasonings is always salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder. That pretty much goes in anything I cook for the most part. And then I might add on additional stuff, like for this dish, I'm gonna add those four, but I'm also going to use some oregano. I'm not big on measurements. You know, if anyone ever requests specific measurements, I would definitely try to oblige. But I just kind of eyeball it. That was black pepper, by the way, sorry. That was black pepper. This is garlic powder. Just sprinkling it throughout. And this just adds a little extra flavor. Of course, the tomato paste is going to, I keep saying tomato paste, the tomato sauce is going to have some flavor to it. And this is onion powder. But this just adds a little bit more. Just sprinkle it throughout. And then of course I'm gonna stir it all around. And then just a little salt. And this is sea salt. And that's good. So before I add the tomato sauce, I'm just gonna turn this all around. Of course, I'll get all that mess up from my stove in a bit. Man, this water is really taking a long time to boil. So I like to use 2 jars of sauce. I like Prego. Usually when I make this dish, I will use 2 different kinds. Like I'll use the 3 cheese, that's my favorite. And then I will also grab a different kind, maybe the tomato basil, just depends. I already had a little bit of this left over in the refrigerator, so it's almost full. It's like right at the top. So I'm just gonna use this, which is the same. So it's just 2-3 cheeses, which is fine. I just like to mix it up. I do the same thing when I make lasagna. I'll use 2 different sauces. So I'm just gonna pour the sauce in. I'm gonna use the whole jar. I'm probably gonna end up using the whole jar of the other one as well. Try to shake it all out. Gotta get our money's worth nowadays. Waste not, want not, right? Oop. Toss that. Stir this around. Oh, you know what? I didn't put out for the ingredient, but I'll definitely have it listed in the description box. is cheese. So this dish also uses cheddar cheese and mozzarella. You can use parmesan as well. I just have mozzarella on hand. And again, waste not, want not, and not rebuying cheese when I have some that I can use already in the fridge. That would be just as delicious. So I'm gonna go ahead and preheat the oven at 400 because I hear the water finally starting to boil. Let me grab the cheese. I'm gonna grab the cheddar cheese from the fridge. All right, so I have some mild cheddar. Just open. And I like to put this throughout the meat, and then I'll use the mozzarella or parmesan. Let's break that up. Actually, I am going to turn this back on a little low just to make sure. I'm really throwing cheese all around. Be fine cleaning all that up. Stirring this all around, letting the cheese melt in. I am going to add a little bit of the other jar of sauce. Do this against the spatula so it doesn't splash like crazy. And this really depends on how saucy you like your pasta dishes. I do like this one to be on a saucier side. And even once I put this in the shells, I will add sauce like around. Or maybe like sprinkle some on top or drizzle some on top, which you'll see. So the water is finally boiling. So I'm gonna take these pasta shells and put it in the water. These are gonna stir. Now, with this kind of meal, I do not fully cook the pasta because I don't want it to be too soft. Since I'm going to have to stuff the shells, you want it to have a little bit of, I don't want to say toughness, like you still be cooked, but you're going to put it in the oven. So it's going to continue to cook once it's in the oven. So you don't have to cook it exactly to what the directions say on the box because you don't want it super soft. And then when you go to stuff it, it'll tear. You'll put your finger through it. It'll be a whole thing. It's just going to irritate you. So usually I'll cook it through about 3 minutes less than whatever the instructions say in the box. I just add a little more cheese to the pasta and sauce. Child. I add a little more cheese to the meat and sauce. And just stirring that around to let it melt. The pasta is cooking now, so that's gonna take a few minutes. So once this melts, I'm gonna take this off the eye so it doesn't get scorched at the bottom. You don't want it to burn. At this point, the meat is fully cooked. You're just really allowing the cheese to get melted all the way through. This is really good too to let your seasonings get all mixed in. You know, meals like this are always good when they're slowly cooked or the day after you cook them. It just gets better, like spaghetti. It's better the older it is. Talking about that sauce. I think this is good. Just gonna set this, turn off this eye, and move it to the side while the pasta cooks up. Okay, the pasta finished cooking. I drained it and rinsed it with a little cold water so I can place the pasta into the dish without burning my hands. My dog is barking ferociously in the background at a FedEx worker, so I might have to do a little voiceover in this part. Oh shoot, you know what? I forgot to spray. All right, I sprayed the pan with a little bit of Pam. And I want to put a little bit of the sauce down in the pan before I place the pasta. Just a little bit. So it has a little base to it. Spread this all around. All right, I'm gonna use that spoon to spoon in the meat and sauce into the shells. And I put on gloves because I'll be kind of holding the shells and putting it in and get under your nails, and it's annoying. So this dish is just for me, my husband, and my children. But still, you know, also being a little extra clean. All right, so I'm just gonna put the pasta in a line. You see it gets a little bit bigger. You can see the salt and pepper in some of them. That's what that is from the water. This one broke, but you know, it doesn't have to be perfect at all. The importance of this dish is that it's delicious. So I'm just gonna line these up. They're still kind of hot, even though I rinsed them with cold water, but it's a lot better. This one is a little more torn than I want, so I'm gonna forego that one and pick some others. And even though I placed the pasta in here, it still looks like I have more than I need, but you can always squeeze some extra in, especially if you're trying to make a bigger dish. I'm just going to put as many of these in here as I can. That came out real southern. Cayenne. Oh, actually, I think I'm going to use them all, that's good. So these ones that's really tightly wound, you'll see I'll kind of pull them open to put the meat sauce in. Shoot, I think I'm just gonna use them all. Well, this one's I'm gonna say this one's just gap mouth, ain't it? So she can go. She can be with the crew too. All right. So now I'm going to, see, yeah. I'm gonna take all that meat that we cooked up and just start putting them into the pasta shells. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be pretty. Some of them may open a little bit more than others. It is all good. You see what I'm saying with having my fingers all up in it? That's why the gloves are helpful. Not necessary, but very helpful if you don't want to have to scrub pasta. Not pasta, but sauce and cheese from under your nails later. And even with it's a little messy getting on the sides, that is perfectly fine, because once I stuff all of these, any available space, or if I have any of the meat sauce left, then I'm going to fill that around, because I'm not wasting all of this meat and cheese and sauce. Not in this economy. All right, so all of my shells are full. I still have some meat left. So what I'm going to do is just fill in any areas that I feel like could use some extras. And cheese will go on top of this. It'll be melted, so it'll be more together when you go to scoop it out. So you'll scoop everything up, the cheese, all this meat, the shells. So it's, you know, it's all one dish. Kind of similar to a baked spaghetti or lasagna. It's just individual shells. But the cheese helps to hold it all together, so it's not going to be crazy when you scoop it out. Just use a big spoon before you put it on the plate. So now I'm going to take some mozzarella cheese. Again, this is what I have on hand. You can use mozzarella or you can use parmesan. I feel like I've used both for this meal. And then I'm just gonna sprinkle it over as well as I can. I think I have to use my fingers and sprinkle it. Sargento is a brand I use often, but I also use Kraft. I will also use the store brand. I don't really have a preference. Well, that's not true. I do, depending on what I'm making, I do like Sargento, especially if I'm making sandwiches and melting it and cheese is like nice and gooey. But I don't feel like I'm not devastated if I'm not using Sargento. Obviously, I just use, what was that, Kraft for the cheddar. So sometimes it depends on what's available at the store or, you know, what might be on sale. Okay, so I have that all spread out and I'm going to just pop this in the oven and let it bake for not long, about 15 minutes or so. And then it should be nice and golden brown at that point. So let's see. Ooh, it is looking good. All right, let me take this out. There she is. A delicious, pretty simple to make stuffed shell recipe. And this is piping hot, so I'm gonna let this cool for a few minutes before I dish some out, but I would definitely let you guys see the plated version. Take a look at the plated portion of my stuffed shells. I'm so excited to dive into this. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know below if you make it yourself, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe. See you on the next one.